The first sip of coffee is never just coffee. It feels like tiny door opening in mind before day fully begins. Picture someone in quiet kitchen, still half inside sleep, holding warm mug while world stays soft around edges. Morning light rests low on counter. Phone nearby already glows with messages, reminders, small demands, red numbers too awake for this hour. Outside, bus sighs at curb, neighbor's car starts, or rain taps window like it has something to say. Inside there is cup, silence, hand around ceramic, and one slower breath. Then comes small pause before sip, half second where nothing has changed yet, but something feels ready to. Coffee has not reached bloodstream. Caffeine has not done dramatic brain magic. No scientist would say nervous system transforms in 3 seconds. Still, room somehow feels more possible. Most people know this feeling, even without naming it. First sip often arrives before first decision, before first reply, before first sentence said out loud to another human. It becomes starting signal. Soft green light inside morning. Okay, now we begin strange thing because chemically, caffeine needs time. It must travel, absorb, circulate, and do its work like committed but not very punctual employee. Yet comfort appears immediately, at lips and smell, in warmth of mug against fingers. Mind arrives early. Psychology gets interesting there. First sip comes wrapped in expectation before chemistry fully supports it. Brain has learned sequence: mug, aroma, heat, taste, alertness, routine, movement, identity. It does not wait politely for caffeine report from body. It starts predicting. Someone may stand there with ordinary pressures waiting. Nothing cinematic, nothing tragic. Just life being life. Laundry may still be in machine. Meeting sits on calendar like small weather system. Commute may be coming. Forgotten task from yesterday has returned with fresh confidence. Coffee removes none of this. But it gives mind handle, and handle matters. Before day becomes list, cup becomes private threshold. Small border between sleep and responsibility. You are not fully in night anymore, but not fully surrendered to day either. You stand between being carried and choosing to enter. Moment is tiny, but mind treats it like ceremony. Not grand ceremony with music and candles, though some people get suspiciously close with grinder setup. More practical ceremony, quiet and repeatable, made from warmth, smell, taste, and feeling of doing one familiar thing on purpose. Small ritual, big signal. Brains love signals. They love signs saying, this is where we are, this is what comes next, this is who we are when we do this. That is why coffee in kitchen feels different from coffee in cafe, and why same drink in paper cup during rush commute carries different emotional texture than one you drink barefoot near sink. Context, season, sip. First sip is also personal because memory arrives without asking permission. Maybe it brings back early mornings with parent, late nights at school, road trips, cold offices, warm cafes, or older version of yourself who learned to survive busy days one cup at a time. Taste may be bitter, sweet, creamy, sharp, or, if we are honest about some office machines, burnt beyond ambition. But meaning around it can still be layered. Memory rides along. Then there is control, quietly powerful. Mornings can make us feel pulled into motion by forces we did not choose. Alarms, traffic, deadlines, other people's needs, strangely aggressive microwave beep, making coffee, or even choosing coffee gives one small act that belongs to you, one chosen thing. That is why first sip can feel comforting before it feels energizing. Warmth tells body, something familiar is happening. Aroma tells brain, we have been here before. Taste tells self, I am becoming version of me that can meet this day. This does not mean coffee is magic. It means mind is good at turning repeated actions into emotional shortcuts. Reward prediction matters too. Fancy way of saying brain is already leaning toward pleasure it expects. Before caffeine, before full flavor, even before swallowing. Brain starts anticipating relief, focus, steadiness, maybe tiny mood lift. Anticipation itself can feel rewarding, promise has flavor. So when first sip lands, it lands on stage already built for it. Kitchen silence, morning light, heavy eyelids, warm ceramic. Smell rising before taste arrives, all prepare mind to treat this sip as meaningful. Drink enters mouth, but moment enters story of day. That is trick. People defend morning coffee with strange tenderness because it is not only about being awake and not only about liking taste, especially since plenty of people lovingly drink coffee that tastes like roasted cardboard and call it character. It is about crossing over, from blur to shape, from pause to motion. First sip says quietly, day has begun, but it has not taken everything from you yet. There is still one warm moment that belongs to your hands, your breath, your pace, your tiny negotiation with reality. For a few seconds, world is not asking, it is waiting. To understand why first sip lands so deeply, start with what body notices before brain explains it. Before brain has theory, body has evidence. Hand wraps around mug and notices warmth first. Not philosophy, not productivity, not inbox multiplying in corner. Just heat. Warm because nervous system reads it fast. Warm cup gives hands somewhere to land, and when morning feels loose or unfinished, small physical anchor can make moment feel more settled. You are not only holding coffee. You are holding tiny border around day, then smell arrives. Coffee aroma has unfair power. It can cross room and change mood before anyone swallows anything, impressive for ground beans and hot water. Smell has close relationship with brain areas involved in emotion and memory, so scent can feel less like information and more like time travel without permission. You pass cafe and suddenly you are back in another city, at someone's kitchen table, in train station, or in library at midnight, pretending one more cup can turn panic into scholarship. That is why first sip begins before sip. Nose catches roasted, nutty, smoky, floral, chocolatey, or slightly burnt notes, depending on coffee and Mercy coffee maker showed that morning. Eyes see steam, hands feel heat, mouth starts preparing. By time cup reaches lips, brain has already built small scene around it. Steam means fresh, warmth means comfort, aroma means familiar, cup means routine, and routine is one of brain's favorite shortcuts because it reduces uncertainty. Mornings hold too many unanswered questions, but this object says, we know this part. Then taste enters. Tongue may notice bitterness first, dark sharp edge that makes coffee feel serious, as if it has read more books than you. Maybe acidity appears, bright and citrusy, or sweetness, soft and round. Milk, cream, foam, syrup, cinnamon, or whatever treaty you have signed with taste buds changes message. Texture changes it too. Thin black coffee lands differently from dense latte. Velvety sip feels different from something watery, rushed, or abandoned in office pot that has seen things. This is key. First sip is not only taste, it is temperature, smell, texture, sight, memory, habit, and expectation arriving together. Like small orchestra where spoon somehow believes it is conductor. Brain does not wait for one clean signal. It builds meaning from all channels at once. That is why coffee can feel comforting even when flavor is not perfect. Maybe it is too bitter, too weak, or slightly burnt. Moment can still work because brain is not grading it like competition judge. It asks, do I know this? Is this safe? Does this mean we are beginning? This explains something many people feel but rarely name. Coffee pleasure lives partly in liquid, yes, but also in prediction. Brain learns that this smell and warmth often come before focus. Conversation, commuting, reading, working, waking up, or becoming slightly less impossible to speak to. After enough repetitions, first sip becomes signal. Body hears it before caffeine has done full work. Caffeine matters, of course. No need to pretend it is only poetic bean ghost drifting through bloodstream. But its full alertness effect usually does not arrive in first seconds after first sip. Absorption takes time. So immediate lift, small inner is not chemistry moving at superhero speed. Part of it is expectation. Part of it is sensory association. Part of it is ritual telling body day mode begins now. Brain loves cues that make next step feel clearer, that does not make feeling fake. Expectation is real psychology, not imaginary glitter. If brain has spent years pairing coffee with waking, moving, thinking, and entering world, one sip can shift state before caffeine reaches peak. Mug also changes breathing. You lift it, pause, inhale, sip, swallow. For moment, pace narrows to something simple and manageable. Small pause, but morning often needs small help. Warm drinks, especially inside familiar routines, can make moment feel less scattered, not magically healed. Not transformed into lifestyle montage with sunlight, linen curtains, and morally superior fruit, just steadier. Hands have something to do, mouth has something to notice. Attention has somewhere gentle to rest. Brain with dramatic little filing system reaches fast conclusion. Coffee means warmth. Coffee means start. Coffee means I have done this before and survived early hours of being person. Maybe even answered emails without becoming mythical swamp creature. There is humor in that, but tenderness too. We like to imagine mornings are run by goals and schedules, yet sometimes first real turn of day happens when lips meet rim and body says, yes, this pattern. I know this one. First sip feels powerful because it compresses much into one small act. It gives senses job, memory doorway, body warmth, mind cue, and day beginning that feels chosen instead of dropped on your head. Once senses have built stage, expectation steps in and starts directing scene. Expectation is where coffee gets clever. Before caffeine has time to move through body in meaningful way, mind already leans forward, setting table, whispering, this part. That is not weakness and not silly imagination. It is normal psychology doing quiet work. When we know pleasant experience is coming, brain does not wait politely. It begins preparing for reward before reward arrives. Beans grinding, kettle boiling, cafe machine hissing, takeaway lid clicking into place. These sounds can become part of pleasure loop. Steam, smell, warmth in hand, careful lift cup, all gain meaning because mind already knows what they usually announce. Anticipation is active. It changes attention. Drink has not reached bloodstream yet, but it has entered story. We often give caffeine all credit. We say I need coffee as if molecule alone arrives to rescue morning. But part of what we need is expectation of becoming slightly more ourselves. If coffee has helped you focus many times before, brain starts predicting focus when cup appears. It quietly says, this object usually comes before clarity. This smell usually comes before work. This warmth usually comes before I begin. Once prediction is active, attention may sharpen, posture may change, mood may lift, and motivation may take one small step closer. Not fixed, nudged. That is reward prediction. Brain keeps guessing what will happen next based on what has happened before. When Q reliably predicts reward, Q itself begins to feel rewarding. Coffee is not only reward. Cup, smell, waiting, and movement toward first sip all become signals that reward is near. That is why first sip can feel like confirmation. Mind makes prediction, then mouth says yes. Taste arrives, warmth lands, and something inside relaxes because expected thing happened. Humans love that more than we admit. We like being right. This is one reason coffee feels almost unfairly powerful. It is bitter bean water, yes, but it arrives wrapped in prediction, memory, timing, and personal meaning. By time first sip happens, it carries more than flavor, it carries promise. This does not mean effect is fake. That word gets used too quickly. When people hear expectation shapes experience, they sometimes think, oh, so it is just placebo. As if placebo means pretend, as if belief is decoration placed on top of real body. But belief is one way brain organizes body. It can guide attention, alter readiness, and help decide which signals matter now. If you expect coffee to help you begin, attention may sharpen because mind has received reliable signal. Through repetition, brain has learned this moment often comes before action. First sip becomes less like switch and more like stamp of approval. Yes, begin now. Caffeine still matters. Chemistry is real, and later it does its own work with alertness, fatigue, and attention. But magic of first sip often arrives too early to be explained by caffeine alone. There is psychological head start. Small wave of readiness moving ahead of chemical tide. That head start can feel emotional because mornings are not only physical states. They are negotiations with sleep, responsibility, and willingness to rejoin world. Coffee enters that negotiation as friendly witness. It says you have done this before. Reliable signals reduce uncertainty, and mornings contain uncertainty. What kind of day will this be? Will there be enough energy? Will patience survive contact with other humans? Coffee does not answer all that, but it gives mind familiar first move. Sometimes first move is enough. Before first sip, day may feel wide and blurry, full of tasks competing for attention. During it, there is one thing to do. Hold cup. Taste. Swallow. Breathe. Let prediction meet present. That narrowing can feel like relief. Minds are not built only to react. They are built to prepare. We are prediction machines with feelings attached, using cues to get ready for what might happen next. Coffee gives that system something warm, specific, and repeatable. The more of coffee appears before focus, comfort, conversation, writing, commuting, or 5 quiet minutes alone, more mind connects them. After enough mornings, coffee is no longer just drink at start of day. It becomes psychological doorway, and first sip is moment you step through. Expectation does not replace taste, memory, caffeine, or habit. It gathers them early and points them in one direction. By time next first sip reaches you, part of you may already be moving toward version of yourself you expected coffee to call forward. In that small ritual, memory, expectation, body, and attention quietly meet. Quiet intelligence begins with repetition. Ritual, in simple terms, is repeated action with meaning attached. It is not magic, though on tired mornings it can feel close. Think of small sequence around coffee. You choose mug, maybe same one more often than you admit. You measure grounds, wait for water, listen to machine, stir, carry cup to favorite place, and maybe take first sip before opening messages. No step is dramatic, but together they organize attention before day becomes noisy. That matters because mornings are not always peaceful scenes with sunlight and responsible breakfast. Often, mind wakes already scanning unfinished tasks, social demands, money worries, meetings, chores, replies, and forgotten thing from yesterday that refuses to name itself. Brain tries to predict what kind of day it is entering, and it can be dramatic. Coffee gives it one calm script. In that script, cause and effect behave nicely. Water heats, coffee brews, cup fills, hand lifts, sip happens. In a world where many things feel uncertain, that tiny chain of reliable events is comforting. Brain likes patterns. This is why ritual can feel safe before caffeine has time to do anything impressive. Nervous system responds not only to drink but to order around drink. Steps say, we have done this before. We know what comes next, we can begin. Some people make this look elegant. Slow pour over, quiet kitchen, ceramic cup with its own philosophy. Others make it look like emergency engineering. One sock missing, coffee spilling slightly, spoon clinking too loudly, phone already buzzing. Both can be rituals. Important part is not perfection, it is recognition. Mind sees pattern and relaxes into it. Psychologists often describe habits as loops: cue, routine, reward. With coffee, cue might be waking up, entering kitchen, smelling grounds, seeing cafe sign on commute, or hearing machine start its morning growl. Routine is making or getting coffee, with all familiar motions tucked inside. Then comes reward, richer than taste alone. It might be warmth in hands, flavor on tongue, expectation of alertness, or private feeling that you are becoming ready. Over time, first sip becomes marker that closes loop. It says ritual has landed. Day can now begin. That is why skipping coffee can feel strange even when you are not desperate for caffeine. Something in pattern stays open. You may still wake up, get dressed, answer messages, and move through morning, but usual little bridge between sleep and action is missing. Body notices. There is also control hidden inside ritual, not harsh control, but gentle control of choosing one small part of morning. You may not control what email arrives, how traffic behaves, who needs something from you, or whether brain wakes up like browser with 30 tabs open. But you can choose mug, you can choose when to pour, you can choose first sip. Small control is still control, and for mind, small control can soften uncertainty. This is one reason people become protective of coffee routine. It is not always about being picky. Sometimes routine holds steadiness hard to explain without sounding intense about beverage. You are not defending coffee only, you are defending doorway into day. Coffee is not only drink, it is starting ritual. Then coffee can become humble again because it is still sitting there in cup, but meaning around it can be surprisingly personal. People often build small identities around coffee. Some know themselves as black coffee people, not because cream is moral failure, but because sharpness feels clean and direct. Some are slow pour-over people, patient enough to bloom grounds and wait like tiny monks with kettles. Some are iced coffee all year people, walking through winter with plastic cup and total confidence. Some are espresso before speaking people, which is less preference and more public safety policy. These labels are playful, but they also help people recognize themselves. They give day little character. Identity often grows from tiny repeated choices. What you drink, how you prepare it, where you sit, how long you wait before checking phone, whether you share pot or guard it like treasure. None of this defines whole life, but it gives texture to life, and that texture can regulate emotion. Repeated coffee ritual can slow you when scattered, energize you when flat, or create soft boundary between home and work, sleep and alertness, private self and public self. First sip becomes signal that you are shifting states. One chapter closes, another opens. This is also why same coffee can feel different depending on ritual around it. Coffee swallowed while rushing outdoor may wake body, but coffee taken in familiar chair before noise begins may settle mind. Liquid is similar. Frame is different. Humans respond strongly to frames. We do not experience things as isolated objects floating in space. We experience them inside moments, places, routines, and meanings. Cup beside laptop feels different from cup on balcony. Paper cup in traffic feels different from mug held with both hands in quiet kitchen. Same basic drink, different psychological weather. Over time, ritual turns coffee into small anchor, not one that traps you, but one that says, start here, return here. Take one breath here before day asks for your name, your focus, your patience, and probably 3 passwords you forgot. That is tender little trick of first sip. It gathers control, predictability, habit, and identity into one ordinary movement. You lift cup, and without making speech about it, mind understands. This is familiar, this is mine. We begin here. Because rituals collect meaning over time, first sip also becomes container for memory. Memory is strange because it rarely announces itself. It slips in through smell, temperature, and small physical details you barely notice until they open something. One sip can carry late nights at desk, early shifts before sunrise, gas station coffee on long drives, rainy weekends, family kitchens, first apartments, or quiet cafes where nobody needed you for a while. Coffee can feel more emotional than it should, not because cup is magical, but because repeated moments leave traces, and taste is good at finding them. You may think you are drinking dark roast, while brain also touches being 22, tired, broke, hopeful, and oddly proud of owning one decent mug. It stacks up, ordinary, not grand. No life lesson needed, No dramatic soundtrack, just warm familiar taste helping mind gather itself from pieces scattered across morning. Sometimes memory does not say, remember this important chapter of your life. It says, this feeling again. Because memory's attached to context. Same coffee can feel like different drink on different days. At office, swallowed between messages. It may taste like function, fuel, and please let me become competent before 9:15. On slow Sunday, same beans may feel almost luxurious, because nothing is chasing you yet and cup can take its time being cup. Context seasons taste. Coffee in paper cup on Cold Street has one mood. Coffee in heavy mug at kitchen table has another, even if caffeine is identical and roast notes are supposedly chocolate, almond, and mild existential readiness. Body reads room, light, speed, posture, and background noise, then taste mixes with all of it. We do not sip flavor alone. Company changes it too. Cup with friend may taste like conversation before conversation starts. Small permission to sit across from each other and let words arrive slowly. Cup alone may feel peaceful one day and lonely next, depending on what you needed from world that morning. Same mug, different weather inside. Mood is not decoration around experience. Mood is part of experience. If you wake tense, first sip may register as preparation, something to grip while you organize yourself for day. If you wake soft and unhurried, it may feel like comfort, almost as if room has lowered its voice for you. This does not mean coffee fixes emotional problems. It cannot repair burnout, answer hard messages, or make awkward meeting less awkward, though many of us have handed it that unfair job description. But it can become cue, and cues matter because mind often changes state through small doors. One door leads from sleepy to engaged, warmth arrives, bitterness sharpens attention, smell says morning has begun, and hand-to-mouth rhythm gives body something simple to do while brain comes online. Another door leads from scattered to centered, because first sip asks you to pause for half-second and locate yourself in present. Briefly, you are here. Another door is social. Want coffee? Often means more than beverage logistics. It can mean let us talk, let us slow down. Let us begin this meeting like humans instead of task machines. Let us stand in kitchen for 5 minutes before day becomes spreadsheet with shoes. Coffee appears around transitions between people. We meet for coffee when dinner feels too formal, when call feels too distant, when silence needs soft object between it and us. In offices, coffee creates tiny shared territory, place where roles loosen and someone says something normal about weather or traffic before returning to being very professional. It gives pause social cover, object to hold, reason to linger, rhythm for turn-taking, an excuse to begin. Want coffee can mean I want to be near you without making this too intense. Gentle genius. Then comes personal archive inside mug. Over years, cups collect versions of us. Student version, commuter version, new parent version, first job version, vacation version. Version who learned to enjoy silence. Version who drank terrible break room coffee and still survived. Not all memories are poetic. Some taste like burnt office pot and printer anxiety. But even those belong. Cheap coffee from early job may stay with you not because it was good, but because it belonged to time when you were learning how to be adult in public. Roadside coffee may return with headlights, open highway, and someone asleep in passenger seat. Cafe cup may matter because that was where you wrote something brave, read message twice, or sat alone and realized alone was not same as abandoned. Memory gives flavor second body. That second body explains why first sip can surprise you. You expect caffeine but get mood. You expect bitterness but get rainy weekend. You expect routine, but get someone's kitchen from years ago, steam on window, spoon against ceramic voices in next room. Still no need to make it huge. Most mornings, first sip is small and practical. It helps you shift gears, check in with body, remember what kind of day this might be, and choose little posture toward it. Maybe you lean forward, maybe you soften, maybe you breathe before answering. Comfort lives in that modesty. First sip becomes less about coffee as object and more about coffee as meeting point. Memory meets mood. Place meets body. Habit meets identity. Other people meet us there too, sometimes across table, sometimes in memory, sometimes in phrases casual as I made you a cup. On difficult or crowded days, cup may not change facts, but it can change how you enter them. It can make next 5 minutes feel more reachable. That is why same first sip never fully repeats. Ingredients may match, but person sipping has changed since yesterday. Room has changed. Pressure has changed. Story around cup has changed. That brings us to quiet center of whole thing, attention. First sip does not work like spell, and it does not need to. It works more like small meeting point, where several parts of you arrive at once. Body notices heat, bitterness, smoothness, maybe sharp edge on tongue. Memory notices smell before you can name it, pulling up kitchens, commutes, hotel lobbies, old mugs, Early mornings, people who used to sit nearby. Reward system notices promise, little prediction that something is beginning to help. Habit brain notices sequence. Cup, sip, start. No conductor needed. None of these pieces has to be dramatic alone. Warm liquid is ordinary. Smell is ordinary. Morning routine is ordinary. Expecting caffeine is ordinary too. But when they arrive together, moment feels bigger than its size, like one small square of light on floor telling you day has moved. That is why first sip can feel almost emotional, even when nothing especially emotional is happening. You may not be having deep revelation beside kitchen counter. You may be half awake, wearing one sock, wondering why inbox already has personality. Still, mind treats sip as signal. Something has started. You are here now. Attention makes it personal. When you pause for first sip, even for 3 seconds, you step out of automatic rushing, not completely. Day may still be loud, schedule may still be rude, thoughts may still be throwing paper airplanes across room. But sip gives tiny checkpoint, almost too small to notice unless you look for it. Where am I? What kind of morning is this? What do I need from myself first? These questions may not appear as words. Most days, they do not. They show up as posture, breath, tightness of hand around cup, speed of drink, choice to swallow fast or let first taste stay longer. Mind is always reading its own signals, and first sip gives it something simple to read. Temperature, smell, pause, beginning. This is why psychology behind coffee feels both simple and strangely rich. We often talk about coffee as fuel, as if body were machine and cup were charging cable. Caffeine matters, taste matters, routine matters, but first sip is also attention wearing everyday clothes. It asks nothing fancy from you. It gives one small moment where you can notice yourself arriving. Before day starts making claims on you, before messages, errands, meetings, traffic, decisions, and all small negotiations of being person is brief contact point. Cup meets hand. Smell reaches memory. Expectation leans forward. Body says, yes, I know this. Mind says, maybe we can begin. That may be why first sip survives so many versions of life. It belongs to slow mornings, rushed mornings, lonely mornings, crowded mornings. It can sit beside joy, stress, boredom, grief, or plain old Tuesday. It does not demand one mood. It makes room for whatever mood walked in. Next time you take that first sip, notice what happens before taste. Notice reach for cup, tiny confidence that hand already knows route. Notice smell, maybe dark and roasted, maybe sweet, maybe little burnt in way you forgive because it is yours. Notice temperature through mug before it reaches mouth. Notice expectation, quiet leaning toward relief. Notice emotional weather around it, even if weather is mild and cloudy. Then notice what changes after. Maybe shoulders drop 1 inch. Maybe pace slows. Maybe eyes focus. Maybe mood does not transform, but becomes easier to stand inside. Maybe you feel more ready, not because coffee fixed anything, but because you crossed threshold with attention instead of being dragged across it by noise. That distinction matters. First sip is not cure for day. It is mark at edge of day. It says, this is where entering begins. Sometimes marked beginning is enough to make next part feel less shapeless. We live through many moments while barely touching them. We move from alarm to screen to sink to shoes to street, and whole morning can pass like someone fast-forwarded it without permission. First sip can interrupt gently, not with grand wisdom or dramatic change, but with sensation strong enough to bring mind back into body for one breath. Maybe that is why people become loyal to certain cups, beans, ways of stirring, cafe corners, and morning sounds. We are not only chasing taste, we are building small structures for attention. We are giving memory somewhere to sit. We are giving expectation familiar doorway. We are telling body, here is how we begin. And if that sounds like too much meaning for drink, fair. It is still coffee. It is still something you may spill on your shirt 5 minutes later. But human beings make meaning, and we do not save that ability only for weddings, funerals, or big turning points. We put meaning into mugs, routes, songs, greetings. Light through windows. Ordinary things carry us because ordinary things are what we have most. So when next morning cup appears, notice it without turning it into performance. No need to become poet of countertop. No need to stare into mug like it holds ancient answer. Give it one honest second. Feel cup, smell coffee. Let expectation arrive. Let first sip land. Maybe first sip matters because it is one of rare daily moments where mind, body, and memory agree on beginning. It does not need to fix day to mark start of it. There you are. Holding cup, day still forming around edges, first sip landing quietly. Psychology is simple, but feeling is rich.